Welcome to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Baines. Today, we're talking with Michael Cafferky, author, speaker, and writing coach, whose debut novel, On the Brink, explores faith, integrity, and the challenges of living out biblical truth in the workplace. From his career in ministry, healthcare, and higher education to his thoughtful approach to storytelling, Michael brings a wealth of insight. Let's jump into our conversation. Welcome, Michael, to the Wordsmith Forge Christian Fiction Podcast. It's so nice of you to grant us an interview. I appreciate that. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Michael Cafferky. I'm an author, a speaker, and a writing coach. But this has come late in life, some of that at least. Prior to this, I served as a pastor for a few years. Then I went into healthcare management for a 20-year career. And following that, I've spent 14 years full-time and then 3 years as an adjunct professor in a Christian business school.
Pretty impressive. You've been a busy man.
I don't know if it's impressive. It's just kind of a career that goes around the map and different places.
Well, it all led you to becoming a Christian fiction author.
Yes, that's true.
There's stepping stones. The longer you live, the more stones there are. Some of them are in the road, some of them are for your convenience.
Yeah, that's right.
So where do you live, Michael?
I live about 2 miles as the birds fly. I was going to say crow, but it would be a seagull from Lake Michigan.
Oh, wow.
On the Michigan side.
Yeah, one of our favorite places to go vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Have you always lived in that area?
No, I have not. In fact, it's only been, actually you could count it in weeks.
Oh.
In weeks. There's a story behind that, of course. But
I'm sure.
I lived here long ago when I was in graduate school, but then moved on to other places in the United States, but now I've come back.
Interesting. Yeah. I was going to say, is there someplace special you like to go to kind of recharge your batteries and refresh your soul, but you're returning to a place where you probably used to have that in that area?
Perhaps. Well, anytime I can go to one of the national parks, sometimes a state park, and stand among some of the world's largest trees.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to do that as often as I wish, but that is like a cathedral experience for me.
Yeah.
Sequoia, the redwoods, the tall Douglas fir, the cedars. And I would do that every week if I had a chance. But beyond that, traveling anywhere out of town, either by airplane or by train, about 90% of the time sparks new ideas. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why this happens. It's not just the fact that I'm above the clouds and I can look out the airplane window, because I usually sit in the aisle seat, glance out over my neighbor's lap to the window once in a while, but it's just going somewhere different somehow that recharges. But it's not like the deep soul experience of going to the trees.
Yeah. It certainly has a way of making one feel small. Looking out at the ocean or a great lake can also have that kind of experience. Looking up at the heavens reminds us that God is really great and we are really small. But just to get a little more in depth into who Michael is, without going through a lot of mental exercises, what are 3 of your favorite songs?
Oh, songs. Oh, my. Mike, I like so many different kinds, so many different genres of music. I think it depends on the day. Like, in month of June, leading up to the 4th of July, I play a lot of patriotic
Oh, yeah.
John Philip Sousa marches. And I'll
Yeah.
pick one, I'll just play it 5 or 10 times. You know, other times of the year, it might be a Franz Liszt Rhapsody or something.
Yeah.
So I like all kinds of music, from classics, so-called classics, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart, Schubert, others, to the Beach Boys, the Beatles,
Yeah.
the 1950s, rock and roll, piano jazz, big band, swing band music. I love that.
Yeah.
I could play any of those kind of songs just all day long. Some of the women's trio music from the 30s and 40s.
Oh, like it was on, oh, I almost said their name, the sisters on Lawrence Welk.
The sisters, yes. There's the Andrews sisters, the McGuire sisters,
Yeah.
the Boswell sisters, and others.
You're right.
So it's really hard to nail down just a few songs. I love church organ music.
Mm.
Some great arrangements of How Great Thou Art, for
Oh, yeah.
instance.
Yeah.
I could listen to that every day, not get tired of it.
Well, how about your 3 favorite movies? Is that any easier?
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I know you're supposed to pick one, right? But
Oh,
apparently,
not really. As I told the last guest that I interviewed, you thought I was asking you for your 3 favorite songs, but I was really asking what's the mechanics you have to go through to figure out your 3 favorite songs, because
Sure.
that's more interesting than what your actual 3 favorite songs or movies would be.
Sure. Yeah. I like a movie that leaves questions
Hmm.
at the end, that introduces some really difficult tension points in human experience.
Yeah.
I have watched Green Book probably 8 times.
I have seen
I
that.
have watched Chinatown from 1975 probably about the same number of times.
Hmm.
Wow. The for television episodes and so forth, I liked the Star Trek: The Next Generation during the 1990s. I still watch Finding Your Roots on PBS.
Yeah.
I'm a family historian, and so I love watching what other people learn about their families, and also enjoy watching the American Experience series on PBS. Wow, it's really hard to pick one particular genre. I like westerns. I like action movies also, but I think the ones that really grab me are the ones that get pretty deep into human experience. And here's some difficult tensions that most of us face.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's interesting that that many of the guests that I've interviewed have Star Trek on their list. I mean, what could be more fictional than Star Trek? But I mean, that used to resonate much better 15 years ago. Now, it could happen. It could be like that. You never know. Well, Michael, if you don't mind, would you tell us about your walk with Christ?
Yeah, this, I thought you might ask this question because I watched a few of your episodes.
Oh, you got one leg up already.
Trying to get ahead of you, Mike.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, my experience may be different than some of your other your guests. I don't know. I haven't watched all of your episodes, but my walk with Christ is, I think, different than some. I was baptized at the age of 12, expected that I would be filled with the Spirit of God, and that my life would dramatically change from that moment on when I came up out of the water. No.
You were just
so
wet.
And it was pretty much the same the next day and the following day and whatever. So that set me on a bit of a quest why, In my early 20s, I experienced a dramatic conversion experience. Only later did I realize it was basically emotional
Mm-hmm.
I was just feeling so much gratitude for salvation, and it was this strong emotion. And I tried to recover that over and over again, never did recover that same emotion. And that sent me on another quest. Okay, what is this thing of faith all about? And I started asking questions. What is faith? Gradually, questions about religious experience became the heart of my religious experience. And I still ask questions. I don't have as many answers. In fact, I probably have fewer answers now, I think. And so I know some people really relate to the idea of a very personal friendship relationship with God. Not so with me. I have questions about God. For me, the wonder and awe of how anything got here still captures me.
Yeah.
And I resonate more with a distant, transcendent God. And I'm at peace with that. Some people say, well, don't you have Jesus as a friend? Not like most people talk about that friendship. I'm sad to say. I'm not sad, actually, because that's just reality for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what makes it personal for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think some of the characters in my stories struggle with questions. Some Christians might say they struggle with doubt. For me, faith emerges in the context of doubt.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not faith. If we knew everything, it wouldn't be faith. And so there are questions, and it is out of the questions that faith comes. And so my story characters tend to reflect some of that.
Well, it's kind of like if your belief system isn't strong enough to be questioned, what kind of a belief system is it?
Right.
You have to ask those questions.
Yeah.
And
I once read an author, it wasn't a fiction author, who said that the closer we get to truth, the closer we get to paradox. The closer we get to opposites.
yeah.
And so this has become very central to my religious experience also. And so I'm a collector of paradoxes, of human experience, of religion, of the scriptures, of now the writing experience as authors. Because I think in those tension points lies the truth, and I defy or I resist trying to simplify answers down to one thing. And I'm at peace with being in the middle of tensions.
How did you make that kind of a switch? Because I looked at your bio a little. You've dealt in nonfiction most of your life, and so what sparked you to write to write fiction?
Sure. My first attempt at writing fiction was 25 years ago. I went to a week-long writers' conference led by James Fry, the author of How to Write a Damn Good Novel. And that was a brutal, pleasurable learning experience. And so I laid that aside after that week, realizing I really don't know anything about stories. And I began to study and read books about stories and stuff. And of course, life goes on. I still had a day job.
Yeah.
As most of us do, and kept learning and reading, and kept reading more and more fiction stories too, and capturing ideas, collecting things, whatever, until finally I came across a story idea that emerged out of family history research. And based on what we know, which is not a lot, I decided to write a fictional version of it. And that really kicked me in gear to start the practice. That was 2016-ish, 17. So I've been working pretty hard at the practice side of things now since then. So it was that one family story.
Is there a biblical truth in the book that you've written?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The story titled On the Brink, which is my debut novel, is rooted in some of the most fundamental we say character traits of God, or we might say the theological identity of Jesus Christ, but lived out in the experience of a mid-level corporate executive, and how he comes to terms with his calling and what does it mean to live as a vocal ambassador for God at the workplace. And he comes to experience some of these character traits in his learning. I don't want to say too much to spoil the story.
No, we definitely don't.
The story is rooted in the character of God.
Well, you've mentioned that the closer you come to the truth, the greater the paradox.
Closer to paradox, yeah.
Yeah. So it would seem like, from what I got doing a little research on you, that persecution will inform you of your commitment also. So you might feel that you hold a truth, a certain idea to be the truth, and until it comes under some persecution, you don't know how strongly you hold it.
Yes, right. It's the response of other people in a social context that really brings the character to a turning point. It's an important dynamic for sure. I don't know that I would call it persecution. Maybe he just brought it on himself. I'll let the readers decide that.
Yeah. Well, it could be just questions. Why do you believe that? A normal person doesn't believe that someone was in the tomb for 3 days and then rose.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. Why do you believe that? So many of our listeners are looking for books that reach boys, men, and families. On the Brink, will that do that?
Well, as a writer, I realize that the story that I am compelled with, that I resonate with, may not resonate with everybody. And so the challenge for a writer, any writer, is to tell the story and then see where the readers are that resonate with that particular story. And I think some men will relate to the protagonist in On the Brink, who experiences a crisis of identity that has been rooted in his career. A lot of men, this is what happens. Their whole identity becomes shaped over time. Not the entire identity, of course, but a good portion of it, and it becomes shaped by what they do.
Yeah.
And who they're with Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 kind of thing. And when his identity comes into question because of an experience he has, where does that put him? And it's a crisis point for him. And out of that, he wants to become brutally honest with himself, with God. And I think many men, I hope, will resonate with that desire to be honest, not to play games anymore. Just be honest with God. And so this places him on a pathway, the protagonist, on a pathway towards hope and joy, but things don't go exactly as he had hoped.
Well, conflict is nothing more than unrealized expectations.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned earlier, when you were first baptized, you had expectations. You were in conflict when those expectations didn't pan out as you thought. And that's true with us in insignificant ways and in very significant ways, that sometimes our expectations are unrealistic.
Yes.
Doesn't mean that we don't have them, and we still want things to work out the way we think, and we find ourselves in conflict.
Yeah.
Right now, I think there are a lot of people in conflict with God, but they really don't realize it. Their expectations are, God is love. A loving God wouldn't send people to hell. That's a little my soapbox there. So I would expect that, from what you've told me, that your book On the Brink would sharpen anyone's faith.
I think it brings the reality of the challenge that we face in the world of business Christians face. We have this dilemma as Christians out in the so-called secular world. We all are called in the Great Commission
Yes.
of Christ to disciple others, to share the gospel, right? To share the gospel and to disciple others, you don't get very far into that process, at least as most preachers have defined it. You don't get very far until you start using religious language. Sin, the cross, salvation, Jesus Christ, and so forth. The challenge and the dilemma is that in some sort of secular organizations, you don't talk about religion at work. It's taboo. So how are you going to be a vocal ambassador for Christ at work when the language you need to use is taboo? That's the dilemma that my protagonist finds himself in.
Yeah, I'm going to have to check that book out because that's I had a career with the federal government.
Oh, same in government. Yeah, same in many, even nonprofit organizations. You don't talk religion, you don't talk politics.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And other things, but especially religion. And so what's he going to do? He's stuck. But he feels this tremendous urge now to be a vocal. It's not enough to be a silent witness, for him at least. A lot of Christians fall back into that position. I'll just be a silent witness. I'll let my life speak for Christ, right?
Yeah.
But in my story, that's not enough for him. He needs to say some things, but he can't until something happens.
Yeah. Just this morning, my wife and I were at the gym, and while I'm doing my 5K on the treadmill, I look at my phone, and a gospel song came on that just kind of filled my senses with how great God is and how much he loves us. And I looked up at the people in the gym, and for the most part, were strangers, but they're dressed in a certain way. They're you can tell the people that are trying to be healthy and the people that are bodybuilders and like to exercise, staring at their muscles in the mirror. And it made me want to just jump up on the frame of the treadmill and start preaching, which would have gotten evicted immediately. But there are those times when you say, my goodness, I can't just stand here walking on the treadmill being a good person. Yeah. I need to say something. I need to put the word out.
Yeah. Well, it's, your life behaviors do have a positive impact on other people. Sure.
Yeah.
But it is vocal leadership, in my opinion. Now, some of your listeners, viewers may disagree here, but it's vocal leadership that changes culture, not just behavior. A person who has to speak up and take a leadership position in an organization and challenge the organization. But how do you do that as a Christian? Takes us right back to the dilemma.
Yeah.
Not going to quote scripture in too many places,
No.
Not going to quote Jesus in too many organizations in the secular marketplace. But my protagonist is caught in that.
When you're writing, is there a verse that keeps coming back around in your mind?
Oh, I don't know if this is a verse that relates to all of my writing, but certainly the story on the brink. Let me get it. Just pull it up on my screen here real quick. In all things, show yourself to be an example of good deeds, with purity in doctrine, dignified, sound in speech, which is beyond reproach, Titus 2:7 and 8. And in Colossians 4:6, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt. So even Paul the Apostle, writing to the church at Colossae, recognized apparently the importance of speech.
Yeah.
And so these two verses were kind of constantly in mind as I wrote On the Brink, because of the importance of the language of religion versus the language of business.
Two separate things for sure.
Two separate. That's what people normally say, Mike.
Yeah.
But maybe, just maybe, they're the same thing.
Really? No,
Maybe,
that may be a secret to be shared.
maybe only in the reading, right?
Yeah, we'll read it to find out, people. Uh, Interesting.
Well, Christians are notorious for separating the religious experience. Let's go to church,
Yeah,
and then come Monday through Friday, now they have a different experience. They segregate, they uh, separate these, disintegrate something that I have come to believe that God wishes for us to integrate completely.
well, I believe that too.
That
Yeah,
religion and business are not two separate things. They are, in fact, the same thing.
yeah. It's taking care of people, interacting with people. Um,
Yeah. And in my story, it's about the language.
yeah, as you were writing, I think most authors experience this, but you're going along and you have your character, you're trying to get him from point A to point B, and without you having any warning, your character goes to point C before he gets to B. It takes a turn that you didn't expect. Did that happen to you as you were writing?
It happens. And what I try to do is I try to front load that writing experience before I get too far in the story. I know you've probably heard some writers say, well, I'm a planner.
Yeah.
Other people say, no, I just plod along and just get the thing written.
Yeah.
And it happens as I write. I tend to be more of a planner only in the sense of I want to know what's going to happen to this person. I want to know something about their personality, temperament, character before I really start writing. And I want to know something about the direction they're going to go before I start writing. I mean, I start writing ideas, right?
Yeah.
But before I start writing chapter 1, word number 1, right? And then I need to know, where's the end point going to be? And I think about this for weeks, even months. In the case of On the Brink, it was years thinking about this, writing ideas, just mulling it over in my brain. It's kind of like a cycle, thinking about the character, thinking about the plot, back to the character, back to the plot, until the premise of the story becomes crystal clear. This is what the story is, right? Then I write the hook. And then I write the final scene.
Yeah.
And I still think about stuff. And then finally, when those things are clear, then I start writing.
I see.
The scenes. And I start, before I just start crafting the words of the story, I'll just plan out the key scenes all along the way. Because there are key turning points of no return. And I need to know where those are. Even with that, I am surprised sometimes what the character says and does in particular scenes and situations. But normally, I've thought so much about the large arc of where the story's going. The character doesn't surprise me by going some completely, off the rails place. Because I just don't let that happen because I know where the end point needs to be.
Is it hard it's kind of like you have these scenes that you know are going to happen, but you have to write some fluff to get from one scene to the next. And fluff might not be a good word for it.
Yeah, my writer instructor would say, no, fluff. You got the fluff out.
Well, but you got to get from this incident or interesting point to this interesting point.
Yeah.
And it might be, so he called up Enterprise and rented a car and spent 3 days driving there.
Transition.
You get them, that transition. That's a better word than fluff. Yeah. Sometimes those are the harder things to write.
Yes. Those require a lot of crafting, also careful, because you don't want to lose the reader. Got to bring the reader along to get to the next scene, next situation. And the next situation might be the next day or 2 weeks from then or whatever, in terms of chronology of the story.
Yeah, that's difficult. And that's where I draw a distinction between authors and writers. I would call myself an author because I have a book with my name on it. that you can buy.
Oh,
But that doesn't necessarily make me a writer, because writers have skills. Authors just have a book.
they just have a book. Well, we're all learning. I think all of us.
Yeah.
I assume all of us are learning. We're on the journey of learning to become writers or to become better at our craft writing skills. And I don't think you can ever say, well, okay, I finally learned these 10 things, and so I don't need to learn anymore.
Yeah.
Because every new project is like for me at least, I'm starting over. Yes, I know some things about the craft, techniques and whatever, but it's a new project, new story, new characters, new plot, new setting, new issues, new tension points, new conflicts. And so in some ways it's starting over again, not from zero, but there's still the struggle of what is the story here that needs to be told? And how does it need to be told rather than what do I think?
Yeah.
And I get to that point of understanding the story only after I've written the first draft completely. That's when I finally understand, oh, this is what the characters, and I got to go back now to start at the beginning and rewrite.
Make it all work.
Yeah.
Do you see any of yourself, your protagonist?
Oh, yes. I think the tension points that I've experienced in my own religious experience are there. My desire to be honest with God, with myself. The realization that some tension points just, this of heaven, we're not going to find the answers to some of these things. And yet they're still there. And it's one thing to say, yeah, I'm at peace with that, but there's still questions. And so near the end of my story, I've allowed the protagonist to grapple with some unanswered, some ambiguity. Because I think that's at least a part of my experience, for sure. And I think I write out of my own experience in healthcare as well. Corporate side, office politics, some of the tensions that corporations experience in their dynamic marketplaces, and how this affects employees. Definitely those experiences have shaped what I wrote in On the Brink.
Oh, you may have mentioned this, but how did you come up with the idea for On the Brink?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was in 2007. And how many years ago was that?
8.
I don't know.
18, I think.
A lot of years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of years. I was at a conference, and I heard a Christian executive. It was a Christian conference. Christian executive share his personal experience. It was remarkable. And I said to myself, wow, his story needs to be told. But his is a nonfiction, I assume. Then 10 years, and I kept thinking about his story all the time over the years. Then 10 years later, I read a story about a different person and their religious experience and the challenge that they faced and how they came through that challenge to become an ambassador for Christ. And suddenly these two stories merged into one in my mind.
Yeah.
And I said, this story needs to be told, but it's going to have to be fiction since I don't know everything about these two executives. It's going to be fiction. And so the trigger point. Okay, let's see what happens. Let's pick an executive, put him, in this case, him, could be a her, but in this case, into a situation, where's he going to go? What's he going to do? How is he going to respond to this? And so that's what fueled my desire. The other trigger point, I guess I could call it that, was I wrote a nonfiction book on business ethics from the biblical perspective. It was the research for that book that helped me understand how important these character traits of God are in business situations. And so I knew that at least one of those character traits was going to be in the story On the Brink. And how and when, that took a while to decide and figure out. But that was the other key influence.
Is there a key message you would like readers to take away from your book?
Wow, key message. Well, risk oversimplifying. I've already told you how much I like tension points and paradox, the opposites, right? So I hate to speak on one side of a tension point and forget the other side, because both are true, right? That's by very nature, that's what paradox is. Although they're opposites, are still true. But I think one of the lessons is, how can the character of God be shared with others in such a way that you continue your conversations without mentioning Jesus, the Bible, sin, salvation, the cross, resurrection, second coming, whatever. How can you do this? And I think God has found a way for us to do this.
Interesting. Yeah, that is English. Kind of a buzz killer is, so where do you think you're going to spend eternity? Doesn't go over real well.
No, it doesn't. Some organizations are like, wait, what? Where are we going here?
Yeah,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to talk with you right now about I think what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So what's next for Michael?
Wow. Well, it just came out, and so it's too early to say whether there's going to be a following.
Yeah.
I do have a concept written out, described, story premise for a follow-up, because there are other tension points for experience and other stories that can be told. But I have other stories that I've been working on also. I've got 2 historical fiction stories that come out of family history research. And I've got another contemporary fiction story that, by hearing something on the news once, and I didn't know that everything that happened from that news story reported nationally, but I thought, wow, there's a story there that can be written. And so that has become, I've got the manuscript that needs to go through workshopping and so forth.
Yeah.
So I've got some other projects that deserve to be, some of them are really screaming at me to get going on it.
Yeah. Well, find your book and how can they connect with you?
Sure. The book is available on Amazon, of course, On the Brink. Now, there are a lot of nonfiction books titled On the Brink, or have the phrase On the Brink in the title. But if they just type my name, Cafferky, I think mine will probably come up.
Yeah.
It's available on Kindle to Kindle subscribers as well. So it's no extra to those subscribers. Just got an author website started, michaelcafferky.wordpress. So that's just got the basic structure there going. So you're talking to somebody who's just getting started in the social media. I've got a LinkedIn page, quite a few followers there as well. And they can find me on LinkedIn.
And do you engage with your readers on your new page?
Well, nobody knows about it yet. So it's that new.
Yeah, you might want to keep it that way. You never.
Well, I don't know. Inundated?
Well, you never know.
That's right.
Well, the people wanting to help you sell the book will inundate you.
Maybe. But I've interacted with several people on LinkedIn and Facebook about the project over the months, and I have a nice group of people who read an advanced reader's copy, advanced review copy, and have said some real nice. Those are. I think I'll start publishing some of those endorsements maybe on LinkedIn and other places, but right now they're right in the. Yeah.
Yeah, good. As we close this out, is there a message you'd like to leave with your audience, with our audience?
Sure. Well, for the writing audience, persistence. When you're stuck on your story, take a look at the character. What would the character do? Then go take a look at the plot structure.
Yeah.
Go back and forth between the character and the plot. But stay with it. Block doesn't have to be this horrible thing. You can get through it. And in the chaos, practice finding the joy and at least celebrating when you find your way through the fog.
Yeah.
Celebrate those times.
I like that. Yeah.
Because writer's fog or mud, however you want to describe the challenge of trying to get through a part of a story or whatever, and I tend to front load those kinds of experiences as much as I can. Other people just kind of experience as they go along. It's in those moments that feel chaotic and discouraging. It's in those moments where creativity will come out and come through and cause for celebration. So stick with the process, right? Read stories looking for the subtext, not what is said in the words, but what's really being said. Subtext, I think, is what, in my opinion, is what really carries a deeper story. So go for the subtext and just.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. I've been a hostile work environment mediator, and one of we've been told is listen for the emotion behind the words.
Mm-hmm.
Don't dwell on what they say, but the feeling that comes out with the words. So in a way, that's what you're saying there.
Yeah. Well, if and you know that you're familiar with the phrase hostile work environment because of that, for sure.
Yeah.
That phrase comes up in my book.
Well, it ought to come up in everybody's work life, I think, because at some time or other, everyone's retaliated in some way. Max Lucado says man's two greatest fears, the fear of death. He invariably like to say, I'm not afraid of death. It's just the getting dead that concerns me.
How you get there?
The other significance.
Oh.
And so a lot of hostile work environments are really when like the other person has no regard for them and makes them feel insignificant.
Yeah.
Is it really because they never put the same place they got it? Is that what this is all about? No, it's not. It's someone's feeling insignificant.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, Michael, thank you for joining me today, and could we have a word of prayer?
Absolutely.
Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the imagination you've given us, for our ability to take fictional and apply non-fictional truths to them for the benefit of our fellow man. And we just thank you for our imagination. And I ask that you put your hand over Michael as he and shares his experiences as he puts faith on paper. We just ask that you go the course of our life and keep us in your lives. In thy name we pray, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
So have a great week. This is the first day of it. It'll be a good one.
I appreciate the opportunity to meet you and talk with you. It's been fun.
So take care. I'm going to push this button out.
It's all right.
The interviews, but
No worries.
sometimes you have to push it.
I know. Mike.
All right, here it goes. A conversation with Michael Cafferky, author of On the Brink. His honesty and navigating the tensions of life and work offer much to think. You can find his book on Amazon or author site, michaelcafferky.wordpress.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe and share it with someone who loves stories that wrestle with faith. Until next time, your journey and keep reading clean. This is out.